Alright, I know this is a day late, but I am here to talk about the new Nitocris altar servant that dropped in the JP version of the game. I actually wanted to take about a day to actually look at this servant. I was contemplating if I just went ahead and just dropped the Kichi Hogan video or dropped the Nitocris altar, but this was one of those servants that I wanted to look into because she has a lot of really good stuff going for her. Like, I'm expecting a lot of people to be like, oh, ZTL is going to come out and say this is the most broken servant of all time. But actually, when I look at Nitocris Altar, I think she's really good, but I don't think she's quite like the most insane servant in the game, right? If that kind of makes sense. I think she's good. I don't think she's like gonna be blown up and being like, is this the must summon servant, right? I'll probably still title it like, is Nitocris Altar a must summon? Because it's a new servant, right? You know, I gotta be all like hype and everything about it, but I don't know. This is a very interesting servant. We're going to talk about it in today's video. I'm not doing it in like the more traditional sense that I do just because I actually wanted to do more of like a discussionary video, right? I wanted to bring the energy down and I wanted to go ahead and just do a nice discussion. So with that being said, let's just start going ahead and getting into this video. However, before we begin, this video is once again sponsored by our friends over at Bai. Bai, if you are not aware, is basically like Japanese eBay. It allows people like me who are over in the West to have the ability to purchase some products that are like made in Japan that we really don't get. I primarily always say that this is for stuff like Fate Grand Order or Kamen Rider. Those are two things that we really don't get a whole lot of over here in the States. Like, we get some Fate figures, but we don't get all the stuff that Japan is getting, especially with us not having FGO Arcade. It could be a nice way to go ahead and get some of like the different FGO Arcade, like the cards that you can get from actually playing the game, because you can buy them through Bai, right? And the thing that I love that they do for me is that if you sign up using my affiliate link in the description down below, they will give you 2,000 yen into your account that you can use for any one of these purchases, right? Which I think is super cool. Because in some cases, because it is like eBay, sometimes you got to bid for things, sometimes they have like buy it now stuff, very similar to eBay if you've ever used it, but you can find some stuff where you're like, oh, this is actually not super pricey, and I can use this 2,000 free yen that I'm getting for just signing up to either like get the figure or almost get it for free, right? If you can kind of find a good deal. You might have to look around for a little bit, but I think it's really, really cool because it's like I can actually offer something for you guys, and it's a really good service. I really do believe in it, and I'm also, you know, just happy again that they're sponsoring us over here on the channel. But with that being said, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. So I guess let's just kind of start talking about some of the more broken things that Nitocris actually does first and foremost. Like, let's just start getting into the stuff that everybody's like, this is like the insane stuff. First and foremost, she's got a 100% battery. That is insanely good. If you have not seen anybody use Arcoweed, or for some reason you've just been sleeping under a rock and don't know anything that she does, Arcoweed also does this, but is a buster servant, and it makes her just like one of the cleanest farming servants to use, right? It's so convenient being able to use any CE that you need. Sure, Arcoweed may have a bit lower damage, but you can pair her with Black Grail for free because of her 100% battery, and as someone that is using her right now on the JP version of the game, she is definitely very, very strong. Like, I definitely love having that 100% battery, and we're getting this on an art servant, right? So you can do a lot of really nutty things with the Nitocris over here, and it's super, super good. The other thing that we need to talk about is this alignment stuff that she's giving to herself, because this ties into her NP, and this is kind of causing a lot of hubbub around what Nitocris actually does. So you guys will see like, okay, yeah, special damage mod against man attribute, that's really cool. Oh my goodness, insta-kill all enemies with evil alignment, that's super broken. That means she guaranteed insta-kills people. We have the first guaranteed insta-killing servant in the game, but that's not actually really how it works. How it kind of works is that since there's no percentage here, this basically functions as a 100% chance to insta-kill people with evil alignment. Now, this can still be really good because she actually can give people the evil alignment, so it can be really good for taking out some mobs and everything, but you're not going to be running around here just obliterating everybody and everyone, right? I actually thought she was really insane when she first dropped, because I thought this was like a true insta-kill, right? Like, it was going to bypass the chance, and it was going to allow her to basically clear any wave 3 guarantee. That's why I thought she was so insane initially, but then when I kind of looked into it a little bit more, and again, why I kind of pushed this video back a day, is I wanted to make sure that's actually how it worked. That's not actually how she does things, right? She's still very, very good, aside from being able to do that, because, you know, she's still got like 100% battery. She's got a 50% arts mana burst basically, because she's giving herself 30% here and she's giving herself 20% here to the entire party. Again, you guys have heard me talk about that. I really like it when these offensive servants give these charisma type buffs that your supports can actually make use of, right? If you're giving everybody an attack buff, it's really good for the main DPS, but your Castorias really can't do anything with that. But what Castoria can use, or your Tamamo or your Waver, whoever you're using as your art support type servant, they can use like arts buffs. They can use batteries that you can give them. Like if you have like a party-wide battery, they can make use of NP gain buffs, right? And an arts buff is really good because it's effectively raising the NP gain of your arts cards, and Castoria has 3 arts cards, so it makes it easier for Castoria to get to her NP, as well as also buffing up, Nitocris's own NP gain, buffing up her own damage, all of that good stuff. So I definitely like seeing this, and she's giving a lot of really strong utility, right? She's giving the entire party an evasion, an insta-kill immunity, a debuff immunity. It says 60%, but it's actually guaranteed because of this right here. She has a very similar buff to Ozymandias, and while this isn't buff block, it is really strong because she's like reducing their chance to actually stick their buffs to themselves by 20%. So that can be very, very nice. I just kind of wished maybe some of these things were on maybe a 3-turn, like especially something like this. It could have made her a little bit better in some of those more difficult fights, but she's still very, very strong as is. The other good thing that some people might be worried about is like, oh, is she going to be like Eris, where she's going to struggle to farm because of the insta-kill mechanic that she has going on? Well, no, that's because Eris actually has her insta-kill proc first. Nitocris does not do that, so Nitocris is still very capable of farming. I think really the only thing I'm not super high on with Nitocris is that her damage isn't super great. It's kind of low over here at 25k. It should be good enough, again, very similar in a similar way that Arcoweed has, lower damage, so you can kind of pair her with Black Grail because of her 100% battery. You can make use of that. I think Nitocris is going to be very similar, right? Where you're going to try to like glue Black Grail to her, or just literally anything that can give her just massive amounts of NP damage, or just damage in general, to make sure that she's actually kind of buffing up that damage. Some people might say, well, her damage is very similar to Space Ishtar, and Space Ishtar is really good. What's the problem here? Well, Space Ishtar, as you guys may or may not know, I just did a video on her, but she stacks NP damage on her NP, right? So Space Ishtar is actually getting stronger as the fight goes on, and by wave 3, she's got 3 stacks going, right? So she's going to be looking a little bit more impressive than this because she is stacking that, what's it called? The NP damage buff, right? She's getting stronger as the fight goes on. Nitocris is not. I don't know why they didn't give that to her. It's very good that they gave her this NP damage buff, because keep in mind, this is a multiplicative buff, right? You have this NP damage buff being a different buff type than basically the arts mana burst that she's got going on. Those are going to multiply into each other, so she's going to have some pretty decent damage, right? Like, this is fine enough as is, but you're probably going to need to use her with Black Grail again, or something that can really kind of help buff up her damage. She has some weird things going on that I'm not a super big fan of. Like, I don't know why she's giving herself a 30% buster buff, because she's only got the 1 buster card, right? So I'm not a huge fan of that. That is a little irksome for me. I don't think it's super great. I think that could have been literally anything else, like maybe an NP gain buff, right? Or maybe another NP damage buff. Like maybe it was like, it can't be 30% NP damage. That'd be a little bit too much, but maybe like 20%, just another 10% to kind of buff this up just a little bit more. That would have been nice. But again, she is looking pretty nice if you can get her against the man attribute stuff, right? Because you see that her damage kind of jumps up pretty high over there, and man attribute's not bad, right? Like if you've used like Morgan, you know that she's like really, really strong with that. And look at all these people she can fight. Because she is an Avenger, you can effectively take her to pretty much any of these fights, right? Except for, I guess like the BB, like if you ever see BB, she's like the only person you really can't bring her to go fight. But yeah, if you've like seen people use Morgan, like the man attribute thing is super, super good. So consensus, right? Like, is she like this really insane servant that you gotta go summon for? It's a must summon. You gotta pile in 800 bajillion Saint Quartz to go get Nitocris Altar. No, you don't have to, right? Keep in mind that she's also like a generic servant, right? Like she is not limited in any way. You can get randomly spooked by her, which I do think is very good. I do like this, right? Because Arcoweed right now is kind of like the farming girl, right now, like on JP. She's got the 100% battery. She's buster meta, so she can clear a lot of really difficult nodes, especially if you ever at higher NP levels. And if you have Oberon, Nitocris might be like, I'm not gonna say, we're saying like the free to play, but like the more widely available version of that, right? Because keep in mind, since she's not limited in any way, if they put out another like free 5-star ticket, you should be able to get her. And being able to get something like this that has like a 300% battery, has a really good special damage mod, and I mean, for like being able to scoop them up for free, does good enough damage, right? I think that's really, really strong. I actually think she's good enough that it also gives a little bit of contention as to be like, well, do I need to go pick up Waver, or could I just pick up this insane farming servant, right? Because you would pick up Waver because you need that extra support, you need that extra 50%, but she's giving herself 100% NP, right? From some of the gameplay that I've seen of Nitocris Alter and some of the like first-hand testing I've done with her, a little bit of play testing I've done, like she can struggle a little bit sometimes at NP1 to loop a little bit, but you can still get the job done, right? It's not like you're not going to be able to farm. You're going to be like, oh, I missed out on 10% NP or something. It's like, no, like the Berserkers are obviously the worst, and she can still farm those pretty well, or I guess like fine enough. So yeah, you're being able to get the job done. I think she's, you know, pretty good in every capacity, right? I think she's definitely very solid. I think after like just a day, like a little small cursory amount of time being able to use her, I would probably set her in like a 1.5 area, somewhere around there. Like, I don't know if she's quite that broken tier 1, but I think she's probably really high into like 1.5. But again, it is like my initial kind of usage of the servant. I'll have to see if she like gets better, or not gets better, but if my perception of her gets better as time goes on. She might honestly just have to go into 1 though, because the good damage mod is insane, 100% battery, and the damage is good enough for a lot of that stuff. So I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments down below. Am I being a little too like safe with this servant? Like, and maybe thinking she's like a really high 1.5, or, you know, should I just rip the bandit off and be like, no, she's definitely like a tier 1 servant? I'm kind of talking myself into it right now, but again, I don't want to get caught up in the, you know, day 1 hype of the servant, right? I want to use her a lot more and test her a little bit. Maybe I'll summon for her on stream. I don't know. Maybe I'll go ahead and do that or something. But yeah, I'd love to hear guys' thoughts in the comments down below on this server. And I did this kind of like more chillax discussion type video. Let me know if you guys like that in the comments down below. I might start doing that for some of the newer releases that happen, right? Because it's just easier when the servant initially drops and it's like 5 in the morning to do just a nice mellow video, just kind of like looking at what they do, as opposed to like trying to scramble and like find all the stuff to like actually make the video, right? But yeah, with all that being said, again, for real this time, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.